My mother, Anna, reached her 100th birthday. Well, nearly. Born in 1911, she died 2010. What are the secrets to ageing well? We asked 24 Australian and 18 UK centenarians to talk. Their backgrounds, class, educational levels, and economic circumstances differed. One remarkable feature shared by centenarians was their ability to deal with stress. Centenarians gave us some advice about ageing well. Edward said, "Don't worry." Minnie's advice was to just keep going. Olive agreed. She said, "You just have to plod on." Alison remarked, "I just accept what comes." "I just get on with it," said Frank. I was fortunate to have my mother as friend for such a long time. I heard about stressful events that influenced her life, although she didn't call them as stress. Born in Akkrum, a small village in Friesland, her birth at home was in a small house on the edge of the water, one in a row of 16. There were 9 children in her family, 4 older and 4 younger. I asked her what was important. I loved reading. I joined the village library when I was 7. Gulliver's Travels, I enjoyed that book. And we played and played in the fields. We invented hundreds of games. In the summer we danced barefoot in the village square. You can't dance in clogs. In the winter we skated on ice. Anna's childhood coincided with the First World War. Holland was neutral. She recalled refugees from Belgium arriving in the village. We housed a soldier who deserted. I remember seeing his leather boots on the stairs. Money was scarce during the war. Her parents started selling baked goods and grocery items. By the time Anna was 10, the family had a corner grocery store in the village. Brothers and sisters had to help. "I was doing well at school and I was sad when I had to leave," she said. "My brother Dawa was sick. I had to stay home to look after him. His illness started with salivating. I noticed the drooling at first. In the end, he couldn't swallow. He died very slowly in the winter of 1923. He was 8. I was 11. I started work then at the village bakery, scrubbing floors and cleaning. Books were my salvation to further education. I made good friends. My younger sister and I were close. I met your father when I was on vacation in Oosterbeek near Arnhem. Sitting under a tree at the edge of the woods, reading a book, I saw a man approach on a bicycle. He stopped, tilted his hat, and politely asked me for street directions. I told him I was not local. It was a pick-up line, I realised afterwards. He'd been born and bred in Arnhem. He could dream its streets. That is how our relationship started. Anna and Albert were married in 1933. Albert worked for an insurance company, RVS. 2 sons, Jules, 1935, and Willem, 1937, were born. They lived in a corner house. The family was comfortable. Jules and Willem grew up during World War II. In the first years of the war, my parents hid 2 Jewish neighbours upstairs on Rapopseweg in Arnhem. Penalty would have been death. In 1944, the city was evacuated. A bridge too far was Arnhem's story. Carrying their belongings on their bikes, The family fled to Friesland. 1 year later, they returned. The windowless house was still standing. I was born in 1946. Jules and Willem wanted to migrate before they were called up for compulsory military training. They'd seen enough of the war growing up. In the effort to keep the family together, it was agreed that Adelaide was the destination for the entire family. In the wet winter of 1956, we arrived at the Woodside Army Barracks in the Adelaide Hills. A Nissen hut was our first home, temporarily. Anna was homesick. She missed her large family and gezelligheid. Albert spoke English. She did not. Already in their 50th year, they made few friends, but did everything together. My father died in 1990. Jules a decade earlier. Willem in 2009. Rembrandt's court became Anna's home. By then, she was fluent in both Dutch and English, but in this setting there was an additional bonus. She could speak her first language. She felt at home for the first time. You've heard about my mother's early years, her enjoyable childhood, missing valuable school years, 2 disruptive world wars, migration, cultural isolation, losing her husband and her 2 sons. Like other centenarians, she just pushed on with living, despite many stressful life events. So what has contributed to successful aging? Move on, I hear her say. Stay engaged with the world and read.